Hello, Cancer Rising. This is your 2023 annual astrological outlook, and what a wonderful year 2023 will be for you, Cancer Rising. So, to begin, we are going to look at Mercury, and Mercury is all about communication. It rules Gemini and is connected with the third house. And this is very important for you, Cancer Rising, because you have this year to start off in 2023, Mercury retrograde in your partnership zone, the seventh house. Now, it'll be retrograde only until January the 18th, but it is very important because it is how you communicate with other people and the public, you name it, legalities, all forms of partnership and the like. So, with retrograde Mercury there to start off the new year, you will have to be very leery of any kind of misunderstandings or miscommunication. And if it is occurring for you, Cancer Rising, you just want to be very clear about where you're coming from, and that will clear up all partnership concerns. However, it is also important, Mercury, in your seventh house, because why? It meets up with powerful Pluto there. So, especially Mercury retrograde during those first 18 days in 2023, it could really affect you pretty seriously there. Now, Cancer Rising, you don't want to get in those snafus, or if you get into something more serious, as with arguments or disagreements because of Pluto's meetup, it could hurt your relationships for quite some time. But the positive about all this is Pluto is about depth. And with Mercury there, you could really make each other really understand each other's motives. And that, Cancer Rising, is what's very important, because both Mercury, the communicator, and Pluto, the planet of depth and connected with the sign of Scorpio, are really about going deeply within. And so this could be either a time of conflict or a time of very deep mutual understanding with your significant other. However, you must be careful for you unattached Cancer Risings. You will have to be very cautious with your communications about just who comes into your life at this time. And there could be some legal ups and downs, but with Mercury there, nonetheless, you will resolve all communication issues. Yes, indeed, you will. Okay, so to move forward here, we have Mercury, the planet of communication, at the top of your chart this year in the sign of Pisces. And that enters Pisces on March 2nd and will stay there until March 19th, 2023. And this is important for you. Yes, indeed, Cancer Rising, especially if Mercury is at the top of your chart on your midheaven. And it is important additionally because it is connected with what? The planet Neptune. And Neptune is all about our sympathies. It's all about imagination and creativity in the highest. So with you, Cancer Rising, right now you might be considering a career connected with the paranormal, the mysteries. Hey, who knows? You might end up being a great astrologer, or you might be interested in that which deals with compassion and sympathies, like the medical career, or yes, or medicine. And it is in your ninth house, so you might be doing a lot of learning or studying in these areas. And maybe you'll be taking some of those long awaited long distance trips, but now it will have much more in the way of importance to you, especially in your personal birth chart, if both Neptune and Mercury are connected with your midheaven. Nonetheless, that blends very well with your Cancer rising, and it is a very enlightening, rewarding time for you. And with Mercury in Aries, that will also be important, especially if now Mercury, depending on your personal birth chart, is connected with your midheaven and Aries. And then that goes into Aries March 19th until April 3rd. And Aries is a go-getter. You might be thinking about starting your own independent venture or your own independent business. But right now, you are going after what you want with zest, and especially when Mercury this year in 2023 meets up with the planet of generosity, Jupiter. So this year is important for Mercury because it will meet up with Jupiter, and all kinds of opportunities are coming your way, abounding for you. Cancer rising, you will be very popular, and by all intent and purposes, you might be really going after what you want materially. So right now with your career and your work, you might be finding lots of opportunities to make money, and you're going to watch some of that money flow into you from different and varied sources of income with Jupiter, the planet of luck and prosperity, on your 10th house. Now, let's look ahead to Venus. Yes, indeed, the planet of love. And it will be very important for you this year in 2023, Cancer rising, especially when, yes, the planet of beauty and love are going to go into the sign of Pisces. And that will be from January 26th till February 20th. Yes, indeed. And Pisces is similar to Mercury, but Venus in Pisces is at its highest. It is at its most creative and the most to appreciate beauty and love. And that will be in your ninth house, and maybe even connected with the 10th house with your midheaven. So your highest aims this year are one of charity, kindness, sympathy. You might be involved with much in the way of charity concerns, or you may be very moved about others' pain or suffering now. And you may, to emphasize with Mercury and Neptune there, be very interested in something to do with conventional or alternative sources of health. And with your ninth house, you may be traveling around and broadcasting your intentions to help and aid other people. And that is going to be a highlight. Perhaps you are going to become more interested in the metaphysical, or that which is connected with the unknown. Cancer rising with Venus there during that time between January 26th and February 20th. And then Venus, the planet of beauty and love, will be in the sign of Aries on your 10th house, and that will be from February 20th until March the 16th. So during that time, yes, we will still yet have Jupiter in the gregarious, generous sign of Aries meeting up with Venus. My goodness, Cancer rising, you are going to abound with many, many job and career opportunities. If you are looking to change things up, especially with sweet Venus there, and you want to get a new job, you want to start a new career with zesty Venus and Aries meeting up with Jupiter, this is the time to start that. And hey, with it connecting with your midheaven, people will look to you now, Cancer rising, as a leader. Then we move on to Mars. Yes, indeed. And Mars, Cancer rising, is the planet of action. And for you, as with pretty much all the signs this year in 2023, Mars will be in Gemini to open up the year. And guess what? Cancer rising, yes, it will be in your 12th house. But the 12th house is connected with behind the scenes. That is more connected with your time for downtime to go inward and do some very serious soul searching. And there is a great need to really go after this year to open up the year that which is connected with healing. And again, that includes all forms of healing, mental, physical, holistic, alternative, but you will have an inward sense of confidence, especially with zesty and very charming, communicative Mars in Gemini. And it's very important, Cancer rising, because for a lot of 2022, Mars was in the sign of Gemini. And it was retrograde, it was forward, backwards, ups, down, you name it. But Mars was a little bit of a deceiver there with everyone. And with you, with Mars in that 12th house and the square off with Neptune, well, your communications, as with pretty much everyone, were a little bit shady or shaky. But guess what? Mars is now direct in Gemini on January 12th and will remain there only until March 25th. But it is very important. Why Cancer rising is because it is finishing up the long transit in Gemini. So yes, you're going to be finishing up some of that soul searching. And guess what? It's a good time that either you have been looking to others as sources or help, or guess what? Cancer rising, others during this long trek have been looking to you for good and deep sources of health, help, and possibly of wellness and health and inspiration, Cancer rising. So right now, finally with Mars direct, you're going to feel like your life is taking on much more clarity and you can communicate appropriately just how you feel. And it may have been very important for you for your spiritual or even metaphysical outlook and interest. Then we have, guess what? Cancer rising, we will have Mars, the planet of action, going over what? Your first house. Yes, indeed, Cancer rising. And that is all about taking action. It's about putting yourself out there with zest and letting the world know just who you are, Cancer rising. And that goes into Cancer from March 25th until it is May 20th. And at that time, it'll go into your second house of money. But my goodness, wow, with Mars over your first house, Cancer rising this year, it's all about changing things up a little bit. It's all about really letting the world know about your personal stamp of style. And it's all about with your first house going after what you want with zest, but it's in Cancer. So you're going to be a little bit sweet and sensitive and caring about your approach, but you're going to be equally appealing right now. People will find you, yes, similar to Venus there, so attractive, but you're going to have so much energy to complete so many projects at the same time. But do be careful with the square off then between Cancer Mars and Jupiter, because you might have an over tendency to overdo it, both with work, maybe especially connected and squaring off with Jupiter, with spending and work and stress. So just kind of take it easy if you can during the square off time with Mars. And yes, generous, big hearted Jupiter in Aries in your 10th. And also, you will have to be cautious of relationships during that time frame because Pluto, the powerhouse, is in your 7th house, and that is also the 7th and first house axis. So, yes, during that time frame, relationships will also have to be very on an even keel at that time, especially 7th and first house axis. You don't want to upset that apple cart there now, Cancer rising. And again, those time frames are for Mars in Cancer, March 25th until May 20th. And of course, Mars will go into your 2nd house of money, and that then will be very important for all forms of bringing in different jobs and lots of money that you will then be very cautious and watchful about. Okay, then we've got Jupiter, the big hearted, generous planet in Aries. Yes, indeed. Cancer getting back to Jupiter, and it will bring in so many job and work opportunities for you. You will not know what to pick. Yes, indeed, Cancer rising, because you're going to have a job, you're going to be starting a business, you will be looking to many of your hobbies as possible prospects for new businesses or new ventures. You're going to be so busy this year, and if it conjoins your midheaven, very many people will look to you. And because we're talking Jupiter here, you might be doing some more research or learning, or perhaps travel will be in the cards for you connected with your work, but it will be much in the way of fun. And then we've got, and that will stay, by the way, in the sign of Aries half the year until May the 16th. Then it will zip forward in the sign of Taurus. Yes, indeed, on May the 16th, but then it will flip back retrograde on September 5th until it goes direct again once more on December 30th. And of course, Jupiter is connected with your friend zone. It's connected with your hopes, your dreams, and somewhat like its opposite house, the 5th house. The 11th house is connected with our creativity, our sense of expression, and our creativity, not just our friends and humanity, although that's a wonderful placement. This year, Cancer rising, you're going to be meeting many new faces and going to different places. But with friends, you could make some of those acquaintances into long-term friends. And guess what? Not only are you meeting new friends, but Cancer rising, some of your friends are going to be very lucky for you. Maybe the two of you will get into a joint creative project or put out some idea creatively that brings you a wonderful source of money and income. But it's a very good time for you to really express your unique 11th house and Jupiter unique, different creative genius. Yes, indeed. And by all chances, you'll make lots of money at some of those quirky and unique inventions with the 11th house connection. Yes, indeed, Cancer rising. And then we're going to move forward to Saturn in the sign of Aquarius. And that will be finishing up in Aquarius, yes, in your eighth house. Yes, so that will be in an Aquarius until March the 7th. So until the opening couple months of the year. But it is very important. Why, Cancer rising? Because Saturn has been there for the last 2 to 2.5 years in your eighth house. So there has been some discipline on your behalf with kind of restraining some of your emotions over the last couple years. Cancer rising, maybe you feel that there's been a lot of drama that has entered your life and you've had to kind of quelch that a little bit and kind of pull back and really tame the emotions because it's in the house of depth. And also there's Saturn in Aquarius. You've probably experienced some beginnings and, yes, Cancer rising, some endings with, yes, Saturn in the unique placement of Aquarius in your eighth house. But guess what? That will only remain there now for 2 months during 2023. And then Saturn will zip into Pisces, which is a wonderful matchup for you, Cancer rising. And it will go into the sign of Pisces March 7th. And then it will flip back on June the 17th retrograde until November 4th, 2023. So once Saturn enters your whole sign, a ninth house, now you're going to be very disciplined and serious about your career if it conjoins your 10th house midheaven. But certainly you might be thinking about doing even more study, research, going back to school, taking some long distance trip, and really expressing some of your ideas and ideals now, because the ninth house is all about what we believe. And also because it's in the sign of Pisces, that charitable sign, and meeting up with Neptune, Saturn in Pisces, and yes, Neptune, the charity, but yet deceptive planet of Pisces, Neptune, is all about your heart. Yes, indeed, Cancer rising. So right now, you are going to be moved by many different, say, charities, sympathies, you name it. It's a time maybe you're going to be studying for that medical career, or maybe taking trips because of your newfound interest in helping others, and so on and so forth. But you are going to be doing all of this in such a kind-hearted, compassionate style, especially with the wonderful connection with your Cancer rising. But you will be very disciplined with your career, certainly, and certainly with all your expression of your beliefs, and with really finding out what means to you as far as your beliefs, spirituality, and so on. But it will have a certain discipline and restraint involved with your outlook. Nonetheless, it is a time of hard work, even in your ninth house, especially with your midheaven. But certainly with the ninth house, you are also going to be meeting many people, places, faces, and studying and research an awful lot. Cancer rising. Then we move to the very unexpected big planet of Uranus, and that will remain in your 11th house. Yes, indeed, Cancer rising. So during these years that Uranus, the planet of the unexpected and the unique, has been in your 11th house, you've probably had some seesaw effects regarding your friendships, your good days and your bad days, because yes, the planet of the unexpected is in your friend zone, Cancer rising. So you probably have seen some friendships come and go, or you've had some acquaintances come and go in your life quite a bit now. And that can also mean, on a broader scale, that maybe some of your friends have turned romantic, and maybe they did or they didn't work out or they stayed there for a temporary time in your life. And yes, going into 2023, this theme will continue. But it's a time of expressing your unique genius right now, Cancer rising, with regards to any of your inventions that you may have or any kind of brilliant creative ideas. And you could really incorporate this with your work or your hobbies. And by the way, you might be getting some of those friends to help you out now in 2023, and moving along to sympathetic, compassionate Neptune again in your ninth house. And this is wonderful because, again, it's been dealing with your career if it's on your birth chart, natal midheaven. But if it is or if it isn't, Neptune there is in the house of the beliefs. So right now with Neptune there, Cancer rising, especially since it's in such a wonderful way with your rising sign, you may feel like you've just been so moved by spiritual issues, or maybe you've been going within and doing some soul searching and really kind of changing some of your beliefs, or maybe some of your personal beliefs with Neptune have become a lot more meaningful and deeper to you now. And it's a time where you will have to be careful also, because Neptune is a bit of a confuser. It's the deceiver. So maybe some of the travel has been a little bit confusing to you now, and especially long distance travel. And this year, you will have to watch for some of those snafus or uncertainty connected with travel. And also be very careful about expressing your thoughts about what you believe in, because we've got Neptune there, and that could be very confusing to both, yeah, believe it or not, yourself and other people, because people may feel one day, oh, she's very much into the metaphysical and the spiritual, and the next day you may completely change your mind. With Neptune there, and especially in a mutable sign of Pisces, that's not unusual. Nonetheless, it's in a wonderful way with you, Cancer rising, and it's still a good time to really express all your compassion and sympathy nonetheless. And then we've got the power planet Pluto, yes indeed, in Capricorn. And that will remain there until March 23rd, when it goes into, guess what? The sign of Aquarius. Yes, Cancer rising. So yes, Pluto has been in Capricorn for many, many years, but now Pluto is in its later degrees of Capricorn, early on in the sign of Aquarius. But even during this year with Pluto in Capricorn, it will be in its latter degrees, and then briefly for just over a month into the sign of Aquarius on March 23rd, and then it will go retrograde on May 1st, and then back into Capricorn on June 11th. So just over a month's time between late Capricorn and then, of course, early Aquarius, and Capricorn late in the sign all year 2023. And for everyone, the power planet Pluto will be all about our power for a higher ideal. And it's not just to have power for power's sake and about business and finance and being very authoritative, and yes, still hardworking with Pluto in Capricorn. But now that it's going into Aquarius, it's all about, for you personally, going from your seventh house of relationships, and boy, what some up and downs you've been seeing as of late, Cancer rising, to then the very humane placement of Aquarius, and that's going to be in your eighth house of depth. And Pluto is naturally the ruler connected with Scorpio in the eighth house. So even though it's in the eighth house, or will be briefly connected with the eighth house, it's going to be connected with really deeply going within again. But yes, there could be a lot connected with you, especially when Pluto remains in Aquarius, regarding beginnings and endings now for you, Cancer. And to some degree, that may be very freeing to you, because there may have been a lot of toxic relationships, especially during Pluto's reign in your seventh house. And now that it's going to move to your eighth house, you may have to close the book on that which has been very trying. And again, that word toxic for you. But Pluto is all about transformation and change in the highest. So now, even in the later degrees of Pluto in Capricorn and then into Aquarius, Pluto in Capricorn, Aquarius, maybe you're closing the book on some of those uncertain relationships. Or, yes, because it was the seventh house, maybe there's been some legalities that you finally can finish up on, and that may give you relief. But once it enters your eighth house, yes, it's all about depth. Perhaps you will be taking a serious interest in the metaphysical, or maybe you're going to be dealing with some serious minded Pluto in Aquarius, wills and trusts. Maybe you're going to be looking into taking out that long-term loan. But somehow at the end of the day, whether it's your seventh or your eighth house, Cancer rising, when Pluto leaves to go to Capricorn to Aquarius, it will transform and change your life, always for the better. Then we are going to look at the eclipses this year. To start off, we have the solar eclipse April 20th at 29 degrees of Aries. And oh my goodness, for you, that solar eclipse and new moon, Cancer rising will be at the top of your chart in the 10th house. So that will shine a light on beginning some type of new career venture for you. And for over the next 6 months, between April to October of 2023, between the full moons and the new moons, this is really going to shine a light on what you really want to do, what really makes you happy as far as your career goals and aims. But it will be very memorable, and you could land a business deal or some kind of work that will be with you for years to come. And with Jupiter, wow, you are going to be in abundance with career, money, and work. Yes, indeed. Then we've got the lunar eclipse, or the full moon, May 5th at 14 degrees of Scorpio. Yes, indeed, Cancer rising. And that will be where in your fifth house. So it deals with children's issues, pregnancies, also deals with speculation and gambling. So who knows, you may develop a very serious interest in doing some speculative ventures, but you may have some issues with these fifth house concerns right now. And also, the fifth house is connected with fun and pleasure. So right now, with that Scorpio connection with the fifth house, you may feel a little bit frustrated because maybe you've been overworking and you're not really getting to do what you've wanted to do and have fun, especially with serious Scorpio there with the full moon lunar eclipse. And do be careful with any issues connected with the fifth house, and that may be some interesting new suitors coming into your life for you. unavailable Cancer risings. You may be meeting with some unusual, kind of quirky individuals under that lunar eclipse and full moon in Scorpio now. So, but at the least, find some time for fun. Now we've got the solar eclipse in Libra in your fourth house right next door on October the 14th at 21 degrees of Libra. And for you, Cancer rising, yes, the fourth house is all about home and family, of which you, of all signs, Cancer rising, can relate. And with the solar eclipse shining a light on your fourth house, in Libra, well, you might be really communicating wonderfully now and very importantly about important matters with your family because we're talking the solar eclipse and over the next 6 months going into early 2024 family is going to be very pivotal part for you, but that is only connected with you and what you are about, Cancer rising. So this is extremely important now on or around or just after October the 14th. But not only is it all about connecting and communicating with family and family interests, but it's all about your physical home. So right now you might be doing or starting, yes, the new moon, some projects or renovations, repairs with your house or abode that you have been putting off or beautifying your home. Or who knows, maybe you're going to take a very serious interest in real estate now, Cancer rising. Then finally, we've got the lunar eclipse on October 28th at 5 degrees. What now? Taurus in your friend zone. And because it is a full moon and a lunar eclipse, and although it's not conjoining this year with Uranus, it will be in the same house with Venus, with Uranus. Well, when the Venus in Taurus time frame does come around, yes, indeed, Uranus will meet up with Venus. But that's earlier in 2023 and another forecast. But right now, with the lunar eclipse at 5 degrees Taurus, it's going to, yes, cast some interest on friends. And so, yes, with the lunar eclipse and full moon there, Cancer rising, you may have some concerns about some of your friends. Now, maybe some of your friends need you. Maybe they are personally going through some ups and downs, and they may need your assistance now, or may need your you may need their assistance. You may need to go to them to help you. But somehow right now with this full moon and lunar eclipse, this is going to shine a light on not just your friendships, but your creativity and some of your projects. I would say if there are some frustration dealing with some of your projects or your creative interests now, Cancer rising, just kind of be patient and wait, and you will find some of those projects that you've been putting on the back burner will eventually take off. But yes, you will have to, especially since Uranus is sitting in that same house, although not conjoining up with the lunar eclipse, you will have to be careful of sidestepping any conflicts with friends and as well. But hey, look to the positive and be very creatively aware. Now, looking to surmise 2023. Yes, indeed, Cancer rising. This year is all about inspiration for you, especially connected with your 10th house, because you are going to be going after that which means much for you, especially with Saturn going into your ninth house and Neptune remaining there. It's not going to be enough for you to have a career just for the sake of having a career that makes you some money. It will have to have spiritual or deep meaning for you. And with Jupiter in your ninth, 10th house, oh my goodness, Cancer rising, you will have an abundance of opportunities, not just career wise and different jobs and business opportunities or independent ventures, but yes, some of these ventures are going to make you money. Do be careful of relationships now because of Pluto's effect with your seventh and eighth house. You may have to close the book on some of them or revamp some of those relationships. But you know what? All in all, Cancer rising 2023 will be a great year for you. And yes, happy 2023.